I'm Adan Sprauer. Thank you very much for watching this video. So today I'm going to talk to you about, something I don't really like to talk about, at least not too much publicly. I have opinions on this matter, which are very, very personal, but in general, because it's something that is just kind of out there, but I've never really seen proof of it, I don't like to talk of things that I don't really have proof about. But it has been in the media quite a bit over the last couple of weeks, and I've been hesitant of talking about it. I've had some people ask me about it, and thought I would make a small video on my opinion, on what are my thoughts on this matter, and what do I think, and that's about laundering money in Vancouver real estate. Now, there have been talks over the last week, last 2 weeks, last couple of months, about reports coming out talking about, how much money is being laundered in Vancouver, not just in real estate, but in casinos and car dealerships and a bunch of different sources overall. Now, I can't speak too much about casinos or car dealerships, but I can give you my perspective on the real estate side of things because I am I am involved in the industry. I work with the mortgage brokers and in the mortgage side as well, so I understand how that kind of functions. But I also do real estate sales, so I can see how things are putting together. Now I'm going to go back to the peak year. So the peak year for our market over our last peak was July 2016. So if we go back, roughly about a year and a half, going over 2 years now, was our peak market, and that's where we had crazy multiple offers. Literally we were competing sometimes with 10 buyers, 11 buyers. Four of them had no subjects. Three of them were cash purchases, or two of them were cash purchases. There was a lot of money being floated around, and just the craziness and the hype of the real estate market. And it was mind-boggling to me, just mind-boggling how people were just throwing numbers like there was no tomorrow. You would list a place for $1 million, and it was already at the high price. The last one had sold for $9.99, and this one was $1 million. And somebody would come in there and say, "Hey, here's an offer for $1.1 million. Take it or leave it today. Cash offer, no subjects, 1 month completion. Just go for it." And these were the people that were winning these multiple offer situations. And it was, I think it happened to a lot of my colleagues in the industry when we were dealing with these offers. It would just be mind-boggling what was happening. Now, at the end of the day, our job, or the job of your real estate advisor, the person that you're working with, is to get you the most money for your house. So these people were doing what we were commissioned to do, which was to get the most amount of money for a client. If we were on the selling side, if we were on the buying side, to get the house for your client, hopefully at the least amount of money possible. But you also had to explain to them, this is what's going on the market, and this is what's happening, and if you want to be able to win this house, this is probably what you will have to do. You have to play the game. Now, many times you would, I remember in my situation, I would talk to my clients and say, I believe it's worth this much based on comparables, based on what things have sold for. However, this is what's going on in the marketplace, and you can either play the game if you want to buy, or you can say no and just wait. So many people, of course, you want to buy the house. There was fear of missing out. We're moving forward with these crazy offers, and there's only so much you can do. Sometimes there's this expectation, or there's this feeling out there that realtors are pumping the prices up. Realtors are making these things happen, and I'm sorry to say, and I know I'm going to get some comments from people saying that that's not the case, but people make their own decisions. And we can always, we advise, and we can give you the information. But if some people are willing to go 100,000 over, they're willing to go 100,000 over and get the place. So it's euphoria, right? It's when you're dealing in these situations, and I'm sure many colleagues of mine would agree. There's a lot of moving parts, and people get overly emotional, and unfortunately sometimes they don't take a break to breathe. And even though you might talk to them, say, hey, listen, I think it's overvalued, but if you really want to know what I think it's going to go for, which is my job to inform you, based on the last comparable that sold 7% over asking, there's a very good chance this one's going to go for 7% as well. And people will make the decision to move forward or not with an offer. But it was just a time, that peak moment. There was during those last 3 months of peak prime. It was an euphoria which I had not seen in a long time. I've been through different markets. I've been in the industry for many, many years, and this was a one that I've never seen where the prices were just going all over the place. And people were just buying homes and buying them for over asking, and condos over asking, and detached over asking, and everything was going over asking. And it was a quite, as much as the general public, or people that are not in our industry may think that it's just great for realtors. This is happening. They're pumping the prices and they're so happy about it. I think I speak for a lot of colleagues out there, the good realtors, and I kind of try to put myself in that category of the good advisors and good real estate advisors. It's not an ideal market for buying a home, and it's not an ideal market for many agents. We were struggling, we were competing, we were fighting between each other to win properties. We were bully beating, we were overpricing to get the max amount of money for our clients. It was a situation that was built based on the euphoria that was going on, and I know that many colleagues, and myself included, we're just trying to do the best we could do with the information we were given, and our job is not to tell people what to do, but is to give people the information for them to do the right decision. And that's always how I've seen my job to be, is to provide people with the right information for them to make a decision. And once they've made a decision, you follow the instructions and move forward. But without getting into too much detail, it was basically a crazy time during 2016. Multiple offers, and I think everybody knows how that market went. So the question is, did we see, as realtors, as real estate advisors, as mortgage brokers, as lawyers, did we see the money laundering happening? Did we see that money being laundered in real estate? Did we have a sense of that was going on? Did we know? And I speak on my side of things. I think we all knew the numbers were crazy, but you don't really know where the money's coming from. You kind of suspect, hey, these are pretty big numbers. They're flying everywhere. Is it money laundering? And I can tell you, at least from my perspective and my perspective alone, I didn't see the money laundering happening. I didn't see these. There was some myth stories there where people would come up to your door and show you a briefcase full of cash, and hey, take it or leave it. Here's $3 million for a home. And that's not really the case. These are just myths and stories that were out there in the industry. Most people we would meet, the buyers would come in, the normal buyers, and doing fairly well, good paying professionals, and they were bidding for these houses to win them. There was nothing strange going on, at least from what I can tell, and talking to other people in the industry, there weren't any red flags for us to be concerned about, and it was just people that were trying to outbid each other to win. But there was no sense of there's huge money laundering happening here, and especially to the amounts that are being spoken in these reports. You had the first report that came out that said, we think there's about $100 million that's been laundered in real estate casinos and real estate and so forth. And now there's this new report that came out that says, no, wait a minute, it's not $100 million, it's $1 billion. And I mean, when you say $1 billion a year, if you can imagine the amount of money that is, that's huge. And I think that if it would have been, if it was really that much amount, I just think that we would have seen it somehow. I mean, we had to have seen something. And I can tell you, once again, just my perspective, I don't think that any of us saw anything odd apart from people just overbidding themselves for properties, or bidding for properties to win them, and they knew that the last one had gone 5% over, so they were going to bid 6% over, and no subjects to try to win them, and so forth. There was no sense of anything strange going on apart from buyers trying to outbid themselves to win a property, and people that work with those buyers trying to help them to achieve that goal, which was winning the property, right? There was nothing odd happening. At least there's nothing that I can tell you that I saw with my eyes that was weird, or it seemed like it was a gangster coming in here laundering money, or it felt like it was that same person laundering, tons of gang people laundering money. There was nothing like that, and it didn't feel like that in the industry. We knew the numbers were high when people were buying, but it was just the way the market was. I don't, you know. I don't know, and I can't say for certain if it's that amount of money. I mean, nobody really knows. But I can tell you at least, gangs and that sense of a gang feeling in the real estate industry, there was no sense of that at all. And so, when somebody comes out there and says there's been $1 billion worth of real estate over the last year laundered in Vancouver, it's a number that's just mind-boggling. And if that is the case, well, we have big problems, because how can we trust the system if some people, some organizations can come in here and launder $1 billion worth of different things? I mean, it's just mind-boggling. And it also mind boggles me. You have, people like, David Eby, which, is trying to, you have to give some guys some credit. And I will point out, I am not I don't favor the NDP or this party in any way when I do these videos. I'm very kind of open-minded, but you got to give it to the guy that at least he's tried to have people talk about it and not trying to get involved, the federal government and so forth. But there is, the one thing that hasn't been proven, or at least shown to us, is, okay, it was laundered this way, and these are the ones that we know laundered it, right? And they're not saying that because, either they don't know, or two, they really don't want to do anything about it. Because if you do something about it, you can imagine what would happen to our market, our economy in Vancouver, if it's basically just been inflated over the last 10 years or how many years from laundered money. But I think that we would have seen more signs. I think that we would have seen more things pointed out to us. And I can tell you, at least on my side of things, and I deal with different parts of the market, the high end market, the middle market, but I also work with first time buyers quite a bit. And I can tell you there was competing going on in all levels. First time buyer or entry level to middle class detached house to high end West Vancouver homes. The bidding was the same at every level. It was just a market that was going crazy, and people were having fear of missing out and outbidding because they really need to get into a house and stop paying these huge rents. So there was nothing to indicate, at least the way I saw the market, and many of my colleagues saw the market, to indicate this was money laundering. Like, there was nothing going on now. We'll have to wait to see what other things come out in that report. But at least as somebody that was there and seeing these transactions, there was no sense that money laundering was happening, and at least nothing obvious. One thing, I mean, we knew that prices were high, we knew that things were rising, people were bidding, but there was nothing odd and strange happening with the transactions that I at least saw. So it's it's when they talk about these huge numbers, it's just mind-boggling to hear these numbers, and I just have a feeling that we would have seen something else, or knowing something else, or it just, there's so much money, it just can't be laundered like this, at least in my opinion. But I'm not a police expert by any means. But that's one of the things people have asked me, what are your thoughts on this money laundering thing? And those are my thoughts. I don't think it was happening to the degree that it's been portrayed in the media. And the way it's being portrayed out there, the way it's being portrayed is that basically our market is garbage, and it's been laundered for many years, and it's just it's just gonna completely crash if that is the case. And I don't foresee that happening. I think that it was just a busy market, and people were outbidding. There is, I mean, I'm quite sure there is money that was laundered. I just think that if it was $1 billion in 1 year, somehow we would have seen it somehow. I mean, we would have noticed something odd. We would have dealt with people that were strange. We would have dealt with some different situations, and that wasn't the case. Anyway, that's my opinion on the money laundering. Completely, I guess, unacceptable. There has to be new measures to block this. But if there was $1 billion being laundered in Vancouver real estate and casinos and so forth, well, guys, we have a big problem. But hopefully, it's not the case, and we'll have to wait to see what other reports come out and what's being done about it. But that's just a sense of somebody that was in that moment. Did I see something that was odd, that was strange? And apart from people outbidding and going crazy to buy properties, there was nothing else that I think many of us in the industry could have said, hey, this is really weird, because there was really nothing odd. And I guess that maybe if there was that much amount of money laundered, somebody would have noticed something, or if it's just done incredibly well that absolutely nobody noticed, except the person that came out with the report now. So anyway, that's just my take on this money laundering thing. Let's hope for all that it's they're able to block any try to close those loopholes that they think that it was happening to, and more importantly to bring to justice the people that were doing it. There's no point in blocking stuff if you can't bring to justice the people that did. And there's just going to be other loopholes and other ways of doing things. So that's my take on it. I wanted to talk about it again. Something that's one of those things that, as somebody in the industry, you read these stuff and you say, hey, well, listen, I didn't notice anything, so I thought I would bring my my kind of 2 cents, but take it as a salted grain. I was part of the industry when this was going on, but I did not notice anything. Well, anyway, I'm Adan. Please subscribe. I always try to give you the straight facts here, and hopefully you enjoy the videos. Have a good day.